Welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. And I'm pretty proud of the title of this episode because I have been suffering the past couple days with I can't remember anything, I can't find words, and talked to my vestibular therapist about it. And I think we came up with a solution of why that is. But when I came up with this title, I'm like, those are big words for me right now. So I'm going to celebrate that. And that is exactly what the episode is about. It's about celebrating progress, even the smallest, tiniest little things. So, what I want to talk about is this relentless pursuit of achievement and the difficulty that many of us have, I do, with basking in our successes and giving ourselves a pat on the back. I want to look at how this constant drive that I have affects my mental health and recovery. I know it's there and I can't seem to calm it down. So I want to talk about it and how to find balance between having a drive, striving for more all the time, but also enjoying the present moment. So this is what I experience. And I think I've talked about it before, but when I became manager at work, I immediately set my sights on being director. When I became director, I immediately set my sights for senior director. Well, I skipped. In my mind, I was starting to skip senior director. Like I was already setting my sights for what came after senior director. So I just constantly, when I achieve something, I immediately start looking for the next goal. And it's a never-ending cycle. Once I reach one milestone, I barely take a minute to acknowledge it before I'm already fixated on this next thing. It is a relentless pursuit, and it can be exhausting. It's exhausting. I'm excited. I'm very excitable. I don't know if you know that, but I get really excited about it and I don't stop until all of a sudden I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I'm not just tired, I'm exhausted. And this space between achieving something and striving for the next thing is the part that is detrimental to my well-being. So it is kind of like somehow in my brain there's a connection. So hear me out, between my mind when I was drinking, which is one drink was never enough. Okay, I know it's totally different, but as I always tie in my stroke recovery with my alcoholism recovery, there is some sort of link. It all comes from the same thinking problem. It all comes from the same thinking problem. So this obsession with always wanting more can create feelings of unworthiness and mental fatigue. When I was drinking, it caused a whole lot of other problems, but this present day need to do more, always makes me feel bad about myself in a way, and I get tired. So I did it before I entered into stroke recovery at work. And now I find myself now doing the similar things. So I'll talk about that in a minute, but we tell ourselves that we're not enough when we do this. We're not enough as we are, that we need to achieve more. We need to get more. We need to be more in order to feel satisfied. And this constant need for achievement can lead to burnout. And it's kind of hard to see that. It's hard to see that on the other side of the mountain, that burnout is waiting. It's almost like it's not the other side of the mountain. Burnout is the thing that jumps out from behind the bushes at you. And burnout is something that is dangerous for an alcoholic. Um, it's the HALT thing: hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. Tired. That's burnout. And not only is that dangerous, but it kind of gives this sense of perpetual dissatisfaction. And when I am feeling low, I'm at risk for a drink, me, personally. And that's where like this depression comes from. So I've been experiencing this in my stroke recovery. Like every time I make a little progress, I immediately want to do more. I want to be able to do the next thing, which is good, right? I mean, just like work, it's good to know, am I satisfied with being a director, or do I want more? Well, the answer is always more. For Rachel, the answer is always more. And that hasn't changed in recovery. It's like I started this podcast. I want more. I want to write a book. Um, I want more. I want to be able to figure out some way to make money, some way to start a business of my own. How do I do that? The challenges are obvious. How do I do that without triggering my symptoms? How do I find something that other people would want that doesn't trigger my symptoms? So a lot of the things that you see me doing, like on social media, all of these hobbies, all of this is me seeking my way, trying to figure out what my path is. And earlier, earlier in the past year, I was feeling very defeated about that process of seeking, of searching. And today I feel much more excited about it. But let me tell you what has happened. Um, so over the past 2 days, I have been really enthusiastic and hopeful, really energetic. I've been doing lots of things. I've been moving some things around in the house to make it the way that I want, that is conducive for me being inspired. I want to have space for sewing. I want to have space for painting. Right now, painting is what I'm doing over the next, it's been, my gosh, it's almost been 30 days already. Um, but painting is what I've been working on. And I want to have space for writing my book. So I really got my desk all set up, and I have a view now out of the window at the trees, because I just love trees. I have a big picture of a painted tree that was my grandparents on the wall beside me. And then that's funny, actually, in front of me, I also have a painting that I did of a couple walking down a path, and there's trees going down the side. That's funny. I'm kind of obsessed with trees, it seems like. Anywho, so yeah, so back to the point. I've been feeling pretty good physically over the past couple days. So I've been doing all of this stuff. And what I have noticed is, although I'm getting, what did the vestibular therapist used a word today for it? I can't think of the word because that's the problem of what's happening right now. But like I can put up with the symptoms more. I can accept them. I know how to respond to them, that kind of thing. So I'm doing more. And when I feel symptoms, I know how to react. I know to soften my gaze or stare at something or close my eyes. Like I'm constantly responding to my symptoms because I know how. I know that's what I've been learning in my vestibular therapy. So what has happened, and I didn't know why this was happening, is that my cognitive problems have been increased over the past 2 days. So finding words has been really difficult for me over the past 2 days, and my memory has been terrible, meaning I can't remember from 1 minute to the next what I was thinking. And I don't know if you remember early on, you lifetime listeners, I shared with you how I was sitting in bed one morning and I was thinking about something, and then all of a sudden it was gone, and I had no idea what I was thinking of. Nothing, no idea. And I could feel it coming. I actually thought to myself, it's about to happen. Like I can't tell you what the feeling is, but I could feel it coming, that whatever I was thinking was going to be gone. And then it was gone. I don't know how to explain it, but I can feel, it's almost like I feel the disconnection. That sounds weird, but we have these neuro transmitters and connections in our brain. It's almost like I could feel it fall off the track, like the thought just hit a dead end or something. And then it was gone and I couldn't remember it. Fascinating. I don't think I've actually talked to you about it in detail like this, but that's what's been happening over the past 2 days, like constantly. There was one thing that I wanted to go onto Amazon and buy today, and I forgot what that thing was about 5 times today. And actually, when I started this sentence, I forgot what it was again. And yesterday, I was making a Persian dish, which is like a mushroom stew, and it was lovely. But in order to make the stew, I also make Persian rice. And for those of you who aren't familiar with Persian cooking, Persian rice has this, oh, I think it's Koresh, I think is the name. Anyway, it's crunchy rice on the bottom. And we have a special rice cooker to make it. And there's a certain way that I do it. And in order to get the water level right, I have to do all this stuff. Anyway, I had to remember what line I filled up the pot, what line I filled up the water to. And it was the line before the number 3. And I was like, there's no way I'm going to remember this. There's no way. Like, do I tell the Bezos device to make a note for me? Like, should I write it down? I didn't have a pen. So I actually said it out loud about 10 times to myself. Because as soon as I start cutting onions or cooking the onions or doing something else, I cannot remember what was happening before that. It's multitasking to do something and think of something, or to think of one thing and say something else. Like that's complex multitasking that normally isn't difficult. But for me, it's really hard. I can't do these two things at one time. And so I said it out loud like 10 times to myself. So my point of all of this being that when I felt good physically, I pushed myself to the point that I was negatively affected cognitively. And this is this familiar pattern, with me is that I achieved the point where I can do stuff. So what do? I do more. I decide to start moving furniture around in my house. I don't remember what else I did today, but I've just been doing a lot of stuff and it affects my brain is working so hard at managing my symptoms and stuff that it's kind of like I told my vestibular therapist today, if I'm talking to somebody, I'll drop what's in my hand because that's multitasking. If that helps you understand what the problem is. So, anyway, it feels very much like the whole drinking thing where it's like one drink was never enough. And now in my recovery, it's like one achievement isn't enough, it's this idea of never having enough. Um, it causes me really to overlook the participating in or celebrating what I've done, what I have accomplished. I don't take the time to just participate on the level that I'm in, you know. Like when I was director at work, I was trying to do things that a senior director would do. Um, like writing uh, strategies and stuff for teams. That is really not typically in my company what a director, well, yeah, I mean, they would. I was kind of going for corporate strategy. So, I didn't even take time to just do director stuff and get comfortable. It was like, okay, I got the director stuff handled. I'm going to do this stuff too. And I'm always reaching for the thing on the higher shelf, you know? And what happens when you keep reaching, if you reach high enough, you're just going to fall over. Um, so when I become so focused on the next big goal, I forget to appreciate what I've already accomplished. Um, and this really can make me feel like I'm not enough. I'm telling myself that I'm not enough for me yet. And if I chase the next milestone without taking a moment to celebrate my successes, I'm never really enjoying where I am, you know? So I have a couple ways that we can break this kind of cycle. And then really, I'm saying this out loud for my own benefit. And if you hear it and find benefit, then great. So this is letting go of our attachment to constant achievement and finding enlightenment in the present moment. So the first one is mindfulness. Yes, I know that I'm usually talking about these same concepts, but they're always from a slightly different angle. And this mindfulness thing, when it comes to this celebrating where we are, not always feeling like we have to reach for the higher shelf, Here's what you can do. Like, take a hot second each day to bring your head where your feet are and ask yourself, what am I better at today than I was yesterday? That is a whole different mindset than I had when I was drinking. That's a different mindset than after I got sober and before I had my stroke. I never sit down and think, what am I doing better today than I was yesterday? But I have to do that now in stroke recovery with this vestibular disorder, with the, um, the weekly check-ins with my psychiatrist, which are now, yay, I graduated to every other week. And then working with my vestibular therapist, I am asked every time I meet with these ladies, how are things going? How did you handle XYZ? So I really do have to look at, what am I doing better now than I did last week? So if you want to think about it on a little longer timeline, that's acceptable, because for me, not a lot changes in a day. I would imagine there's a lot of people that not much changes in a day, because it's like Groundhog Day a lot of times, especially when we're working. But think about, like, where have I progressed? What did I do well that at one time in my life I didn't do well? There are little things that I've been accomplishing that I don't even acknowledge. I don't celebrate. I do say, huh, that was pretty good. And then I move on. I don't take the time and really think about it and think about how amazing I am as a human being. It's amazing how we are able to improve like that. So, what I was thinking of is this. If you follow me on social media, again, I made this pill bottle. I think I talked to you guys about the pill. Oh, I think I showed you the pill bottle. Yeah, I did. So I painted that landscape on there. Anyway, I posted it on some Facebook groups for upcycling, and people were like, that is beautiful. Like, they went on and on about, how do you come up with these ideas? Like, it's stunning. It's absolutely beautiful, to the point where I was like, I felt uncomfortable that they were telling me how good it was. Compliments are not the easiest for me, but I'll talk about that in a little bit. So anyway, that kind of mindfulness, like, put your feet on the ground, touch down, and think about, what do you do better today than you did yesterday or last week? Next is realistic goals. And I should say small goals. The smaller the goals, the more you get to celebrate. And I have realized that talking with my psychiatrist, because I had so many things I was trying to do all at the same time and achieving nothing. Instead, I've been breaking things down into manageable steps. So then I get to celebrate each step. Not only do I get to celebrate each step, but I'm actually finishing things now by doing it this way. And I was able to do it at work. But at work, you've got all these tools that are given to you by the company, where you're like, time management tools and stuff. Sure, there's lots of apps that are out there, but I was in a groove and it took me years to get into that groove. So it's only been a year now that I'm trying to figure out this, who I am, who I'm going to be, where I want to stay, meaning what do I want my life to look like right now? So, I'm learning how to make these goals in this life that I'm living now in Rachel 3.0. Um, and then when you're able to celebrate a small achievement, reflect on how you feel. So, meaning like when I finished my pill bottle, I thought, that's pretty good. And then when I showed a few people around me, I'm like really looking at their reaction. Like they're gonna say it's good, but do they really think it's good? Like look at their what words do they choose? What's their body language? Do they really think it's good? I'm over analyzing if it really is an achievement. It didn't matter what I felt. I think it's good, but I actually really wanted praise from other people. Well, um, I didn't really show, I think I showed two of my friends and they said that it was great, and my reaction to that is, well, they have to say that. They're my friends, you know? Well, they don't have to say that. They don't have to say it. And it's like I make excuses for other people when they want to celebrate my successes. I make excuses about why, like, talk myself down um, about it. And it's kind of like that idea of dreaming that I was telling you about last week or the week before, to try to daydream more and dream, live in the dream instead of living in the disappointment before the disappointment even happens. Well, it's kind of like that. When somebody compliments me, it's like I talk it down so that I can live in the it wasn't so great rather than living in the, yeah, that was amazing. I mean, look at what I've done. It's not like I'm a painter. It's not like I went to school for painting or anything, but that looks like a landscape. And this one that I'm looking at right now that's in front of me, I'm like, yeah, it looks like a couple walking down a path. Like that's pretty cool that I did that with my own two hands. Um, and my psychiatrist has a tendency to tell me how you should really be proud of yourself. And I'm just going to be honest, I can't stand when she says you should be proud of yourself. And it's not because I don't respect her or appreciate her or know exactly what she's trying to do, but it feels really yucky. I mean, it gives me the creeps because I don't like it. I don't like somebody telling me that I should be proud of myself. Let's see, how can I articulate this? Because, I mean, is it shyness? Is it, I don't know. Um, it sounds bad to say it gives me the creeps, but I just don't feel right. I just want to move on. Like when she says, you should be really proud of yourself. I'm like, So, and I start the next conversation. I remember when my boss would give me you know, my promotion or raise or whatever at review time. I always wanted him to just tell me what the money was and let me walk out. I don't want you to tell me how good I am. Yet, in the same way, if these people didn't say anything, if my boss didn't say that I was great, if my psychiatrist didn't tell me that I should be proud of myself, if my friends didn't tell me that my landscape pill bottle looks amazing, I would be upset. So isn't that interesting? Like, we are so complicated as people, as human beings. And that's why we need to be kind to ourselves, you know? Um, Take breaks to reflect on being nice to yourself, you know? Um, all of this reflection that I'm talking about, it serves two purposes. One is to build a habit of celebrating yourself. Build a habit of treating yourself the way that you would treat a child. My niece asked me the other day, we were going to go to the pool, and she said she wasn't feeling great, but she was still in. And I said, if you were your own daughter, would you tell yourself to go to the pool or stay home? And she said, oh, I'd tell me to stay home. And I was like, yeah, then you should stay home. That's how we should celebrate ourselves too. If I was my own child and I painted that landscape pill bottle, ah, I mean, come on. I would have that thing sitting in the window of the kitchen, and I would have flowers in it. And everybody who came over, I would show it to them and be like, look what I did. That's if I was my own child. If it's just me, I humble myself. I'm like, well, I don't want to show off. I don't want to, it's always like this tendency to tone things down. But so that's one thing. Learn how to celebrate, make it a habit of celebrating ourselves. But also it is a way of helping us to slow down, stop, and say in that quiet fist pump, nerdy way, like Napoleon Dynamite did. If you've ever seen Napoleon Dynamite, it makes me smile. And it's the one scene that I remember the most in the movie. And I don't even remember why he's saying this, but he goes, yes. And that's what we should do when we're celebrating our successes. It doesn't have to be big, but it should be long enough and quiet enough and slowed down enough that we can actually get a physical fist pump. I mean, that is how good that pill bottle is. I killed it. I killed it so much that I'm doing another one. So why am I not celebrating that? I'm so excited about my pill bottles. I looked at that pill bottle for 2 weeks trying to figure out what I was going to do with it. And I figured it out, and it's freaking awesome. And I'm going to try to sell them. You know, that's a big deal. That's a big deal in my world right now. So I need to slow down and fist pump like Napoleon Dynamite, you know? Yes, I did it. I always struggle with slowing down. I talk to you guys about that all the time. Patting myself on the back for a job well done, never, you know? I mean, it makes me feel icky, and I got to stop that. I got to learn how to not feel icky when I tell myself good job. And maybe I should look in the mirror and say good job. I mean, the mirror therapy thing, as far as your mental health goes, is, I think, really beneficial. because I actually feel uncomfortable when somebody says something to me. So maybe I need to look in the mirror and say it to myself, make my own self uncomfortable. I know it's important for my well-being. When I take a moment to appreciate my progress, I do feel more hopeful. I feel like I've been standing still for 3 years now. And I'm learning, though, that life is not about achieving more, about it's about living with this contentment with where we are and having hope and dreams, dreams. Because we only have today, and that's what that friend in sobriety who has since passed always said. We only have today. And isn't he right? He's not here anymore. And I think about that all the time. Leading a fulfilling and balanced life doesn't mean that I have to go water skiing, doesn't mean that I have to go up the street, put my kayak on my car and go kayaking. Yeah, that's what I want to do. Um, but that's not what a fulfilling, I think of it as like fulfilling to me is like you're throwing as much in as possible in your life, but that's not what fulfilling means. It's full in here, on the inside, you're full. And yeah, I'm still going to, some of us are sicker than others. I'm still going to shoot for trying to start my own business in some way. I have to figure out how I can balance recovery, you know, my healthy way of living with my dreams. But I'm going to keep trying, but I'm going to make sure that I still soak in my achievements today, Um, living a fulfilling and balanced life today means that I cherish my serenity and I chase it. I chase that serenity, but I also work to clear out my dark place when I start packing away stuff in there. And that's what I feel like I've been doing really well right now. Um, and I should be proud of myself. And that's what my psychiatrist said. She said you should be really proud of yourself. Um, and I think you guys just helped me be proud of myself because I just talked that through. Um, letting go of this constant need for achievement can lead to a more peaceful and that fulfilling life. Um, practicing this mindfulness from this mindfulness angle that I talked about today, setting small goals, reflecting on achievements. You can write it down. If you're a journal person, write down like, this is what I'm doing better today than I did yesterday or last week. And then show compassion for yourself. It takes practice. It takes so much practice for sure, but it works. It's not easy, all of this stuff, but as we always say, it's simple. And in this book that I'm writing, this memoir of mine, I want to articulate my program, the program that I talk about here, which is based on AA, but there's a lot of my own stuff that I've learned from implementing AA in my life. So I want to talk about my experience, strength, and hope as I've implemented the program in my life in sobriety and also applied it to my stroke, to vestibular I never know what to say there. Vestibular rehabilitation, I guess. I want to demonstrate the simplicity of the program while still respecting the complexity of us as human beings. And I'm really excited about doing that. And I'm sure it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time, but I'm just going to keep writing. You know, it's interesting that this is the thing that's going to tax my head the most, but yet I want to do it. And that's where I need to take these really, really tiny steps. And I'm working with my psychiatrist to get those goals for this book to be really, really small. Um, and it's working. It's working. I feel like I'm making progress. Before it was like there was an elephant in front of me. And now I know I'm just gonna, eat it. Eat it? One, an elephant? And no, it's not the elephant in the room. How do you eat an elephant? I guess so. A little bit at a time. I don't know. I could be totally wrong. It's been a bad cognitive day. Say hi to a stranger. Don't forget that is our listener challenge. I said hi to a stranger today. She was in my vestibular therapy office, and she was the person that my therapist was meeting with right before me. And she looked over at me and she smiled, and she looked at me a little longer than just a glance. So I smiled and I said hi, and she said hi. So there you have it. That's all it takes. Um, and before I go, what I was thinking of when I said hi to her, because she's also a balance person, a vestibular disorder person, because that's who my therapist sees. And I felt really good about when I was watching the two of them walk towards the front desk. I was like, wow, my therapist is just helping one vestibular patient after the next. And I was thinking how important that job is, because this vestibular disorder stuff is not easy. She is a doctor of, I guess, a doctor of vestibular therapy. Um, and she's good at it. Man, she's good at it. So it's nice to see other people healing from her as well, because she certainly has made a big impact in my life too. So that's what I have. Thanks for joining me today on the Recovery Daily podcast. I will talk to you tomorrow.